The mid-2000s were plagued with dime a dozen action games for the PlayStation 2, Gamecube, and Xbox consoles, with a new third-person hack-and-slash game seemingly being released every other week. Nearly all of them were forgettable experiences, best relegated to gamers' collective memories. But one action game for the PlayStation 2 captured gamers' hearts in 2005. That game was God of War, a wild third-person action game that kicked off a franchise that has sold tens of millions of copies worldwide. Join us at Gamers as we take a look back at the evolution of God of War. The first game in the series introduced players to protagonist Kratos, dubbed the Ghost of Sparta, who was asked to kill the god of war, Ares. The game wasted no time in dumping players straight into the action, and the frenzied, brutal, and bloody combat didn't let up until the end credits rolled. God of War also featured incredible graphics, sound, and presentation for a PlayStation 2 game, contributing to the game's massive success in launching the God of War franchise. Mechanically, the game is similar to other third-person action games, featuring a detailed combat system and heavy use of quick-time events. But developer Sony Santa Monica did such a great job implementing the game's combat and control elements that the game was elevated to a much higher status than its peers. Featuring a heavy emphasis on pulling off creative combo maneuvers, the game's combat was second to none on the PlayStation 2, offering players the use of powerful magic attacks coupled with Kratos' signature Blades of Chaos and increasingly complex combos. God of War was a visceral thrill from the iconic opening battle all the way through the epic ending. The game also included a healthy number of puzzles for players to figure out in order to move on to bigger and badder challenges in each level. While the game remained focused on the brutal combat and action sequences, these puzzles, along with several platforming segments, helped break up the pacing so players could take a short breather before the next intense fight. The game was an instant success, selling millions of copies and garnering several prestigious Game of the Year awards. Gamers couldn't get enough of Kratos and his epic battles against the greatest Greek gods and titans. After a short hiatus, Kratos was at it again in God of War 2, this time beginning the game as the new God of War before he is betrayed, forcing him to embark upon a quest to reclaim his title. The game featured similar gameplay to God of War, but this time around everything was kicked up a notch, with more powerful magical abilities and attack combos, as well as interesting new relics that made interacting with the game's battle sequences, boss fights, and puzzles a blast. Like its predecessor, the game was a big seller for Sony and the PlayStation 2, representing one of the last big AAA titles to be released for the aging system. It pushed the PlayStation 2 hardware to its absolute limit, squeezing every last drop of power out of the long-in-the-tooth home console. God of War 2 solidified the franchise's place in gaming history, proving that the first game wasn't just a fluke. God of War would be a force to be reckoned with in gaming from then on, and Sony was ready to answer fans' cries for more exciting God of War action, with plenty of titles in the years to come. Though gamers wouldn't see another brand new home console release of God of War for a few more years, Sony supported its PlayStation Portable platform with God of War Chains of Olympus, an all-new story in the God of War epic. Developed by Ready at Dawn Studios, Chains of Olympus was an excellent handheld translation of the series, pushing the bar of what the PlayStation Portable was capable of. While mechanically the game offered much of the same action from the first two PlayStation 2 titles in the series, the new story elements brought more depth and nuance to the character of Kratos, and allowed players hooked on God of War to enjoy the game's patented intense gameplay while on the move. Another stopgap between main entries in the God of War series, the God of War Collection was released for PlayStation 3 in 2009. Featuring both of the series' PlayStation 2 releases remastered in high definition for the PlayStation 3, the collection quickly became the definitive way to enjoy God of War 1 and 2. Featuring enhanced resolutions and better frame rates, the series' early entries could now be enjoyed in a more modern package. The God of War Collection was later released for the PlayStation Vita, Sony's successor to the PSP, allowing fans of the series to bring the remastered versions of the original games on the go. In 2010, at long last, Sony was ready to continue the main franchise with God of War 3, the series' first all-new game on the PlayStation 3 platform. Utilizing the system's much more powerful hardware, God of War 3 was able to take the series' bloody combat experience to the next level. Animation, sound, and graphic design were all totally overhauled from the game's earlier PlayStation 2 outings, and the results were astounding. God of War 3 remains one of the greatest-looking video games of the PlayStation 3 era, while retaining the series' incredible action-based gameplay. Continuing the story of Kratos' conflicts with the Greek gods and titans, focusing on the God of War's quest to defeat the crafty, powerful Zeus once and for all. The new graphics engine pumped out incredibly epic, sprawling environments for players to brawl in, lending the game a sense of scope and scale that earlier games in the franchise could only dream of. Emphasizing the use of different weapons and a wide variety of magical attacks, God of War 3 gave players more options for how to approach the hordes of mythological enemies than ever before. The game also increased the number of challenges and additional game modes players could compete in after completing the main story, helping to add replay value once the single-player campaign is finished. Like its forebears, God of War 3 was a huge success at retail as well as with reviewers, selling millions of copies. Eventually, it was remastered for the PlayStation 4 with better frame rates, a higher resolution, and enhanced online sharing capabilities. Turning back to the handheld arena, Sony continued to support its PSP system with another excellent God of War entry in the form of Ghost of Sparta after God of War 3's success. Featuring incredible graphics for a handheld title, Ghost of Sparta follows Kratos on a quest to discover more about his origins and eventually confront the great god of death. While it was a more introspective approach for the series, shifting the focus to Kratos' origins rather than just piling on more and more epic battles as previous installments had done, Ghost of Sparta was still very successful at translating the combat-based gameplay of the series to the PSP handheld, and it was met with critical and commercial acclaim. In 2011, Ghost of Sparta and Chains of Olympus were both remastered and re-released for the PlayStation 3 as part of the Origins collection, allowing PS3 owners to experience the action of the best-selling PSP titles on the big screen. Sony also re-released God of War 1 through 3 and the two handheld titles in the God of War Saga collection, also for the PlayStation 3. In 2013, Sony released God of War Ascension, a prequel offering gamers a fuller look at Kratos' mythological origins. The PlayStation 3 game incorporated many of the improvements and upgrades the series had integrated as the franchise evolved, but had many new tricks up its sleeve as well. From blades powered up by various elements like fire, ice, and lightning, to secondary weapons Kratos could pick up along the way, God of War Ascension provided a wealth of fun new ways to take down waves of attacking beasts and other foes. The game also introduced a new grappling element that allowed players to grab, hold, and throw enemies as part of their attack combos. The game also included a new multiplayer element allowing players to battle with other warriors in online matches. Finally, gamers could battle online with the devastating combos and deadly magical attacks the series has become known for. While the single-player mode was still the star of the show, the multiplayer offered a fine diversion for those who finished the game and were still hungry for more God of War carnage.
That dome hammer doesn't scare me. Boom! Oh no!
Boy!
Stop!
Remastered versions of old games are nice, but what God of War fans really want is an all-new game. Thankfully, Sony Santa Monica is currently developing a full-fledged sequel to God of War 3 titled simply God of War for the PlayStation 4. Moving the series to the rich world of Norse mythology for the first time, God of War promises to breathe new life into the series. In some ways, the game appears to be a full revamp of God of War's iconic gameplay, introducing new features like an over-the-shoulder camera view, role-playing game elements, and a whole new set of abilities for Kratos to use in the all-new setting. Players will be able to upgrade abilities using a system of experience points, as well as collect various new types of resources to continue to power up Kratos' combat abilities throughout the game. Kratos also no longer has use of the Blades of Athena, fighting instead with a great battle axe that the mighty mythological warrior can throw and recall at will. Early previews of the game show Kratos battling alongside his son Atreus, both of the warriors fighting brand new enemies like a massive troll. Kratos will be able to subtly direct Atreus throughout the game's battles, calling upon him for ranged attack support and other useful abilities. Action gaming was changed forever when the first God of War arrived for the PlayStation 2 back in 2005. From the game's home console releases to its handheld versions all the way to the PlayStation 4, we've seen Kratos journey to hell and back to take his rightful place among the gods and titans. With Sony Santa Monica at the helm, we're hopeful that the new God of War will also take its rightful place next to the series' very best entries and continue the franchise's legacy of upping the intensity with each and every outing. Until then, for all things God of War, keep it locked to gamers.